The boy and the cage. The jungle was quiet, too quiet. 13-year-old Jake was alone. The rest of his school group had gone ahead, but he had stayed behind to tie his broken boot. When he looked up again, they were gone. His heart started to race. "Hello?" he called out. "Mrs. Daniels? Anyone?" No answer. Only the sound of strange birds and the soft hum of glowing plants filled the air. This was not Earth. This was Zillaria, an alien planet known for its rare plants. It was supposed to be a safe field trip, but now Jake was lost. He moved slowly between giant blue trees. The air smelled sweet, almost too sweet. Insects buzzed softly. His hands were shaking, but he kept walking. Then he heard something, a faint cry. It was a voice, a girl's voice. Jake followed the sound. The trees grew denser and the light dimmed. He ducked under vines and stepped over roots. The crying grew louder. It wasn't a human voice. It was high-pitched, musical, almost like singing and sobbing. At the same time, he stepped into a small clearing and froze. In the middle of the space was a glowing energy cage, and inside it sat a young alien girl. Her skin was light purple, almost silver under the cage's glow. Her hair was white and long, tangled with dirt. She looked up when she saw Jake, her glowing blue eyes wide with fear and hope. She wasn't much older than him. "Don't move," Jake whispered to himself. But his feet moved anyway. The girl crawled to the edge of the cage and spoke in a strange, soft alien language. Her voice trembled. Jake couldn't understand the words, but he could feel what she meant. She was begging for help. He looked around. The cage was powered by a small generator sitting on a nearby rock. Beside it lay a strange alien rifle. Whoever had trapped her wasn't far. Jake's heart pounded. "Okay," he said to her. "I'll help you." She tilted her head, trying to understand. He crept toward the generator. It had alien symbols and blinking lights, but one red button stood out. He took a deep breath and pressed it. The cage flickered and vanished. The girl gasped and fell forward, free for the first time. She looked at her hands, then at Jake. Slowly she stood up, her legs were weak. Jake rushed forward to catch her, and for a second their hands touched. The moment their skin met, a soft blue light glowed from her palm, and from his. Jake jumped back, surprised. "What was that?" The girl looked at her hand, stunned. Her eyes locked on his, then she smiled. Not a happy smile, but a sad, knowing one. Suddenly a shout came from the jungle. Deep, growling voices. Alien hunters were returning. "No time," Jake whispered. "Run." But the girl didn't run. She looked at him one more time, walked up close, and gently pressed her glowing hand to his chest. Then she whispered just one word in broken English, "Return." And then she was gone. She dashed into the trees faster than anything Jake had ever seen. The jungle swallowed her in seconds. Jake stood frozen, still feeling the warmth of her hand. Behind him, the poachers burst into the clearing, shouting in their alien tongue. Jake turned and ran, heart pounding, crashing through leaves and branches until he finally found his group again. They didn't believe him. An alien girl? "Jake, this is not a game," his teacher said. "Stay with the group next time." But Jake never forgot. For years he dreamed of glowing eyes in a cage in the jungle, and always he remembered the word she said, "Return." 7 years had passed since that day in the jungle. Jake was no longer a boy. Now he was 19, taller, stronger, but still haunted. He had never told anyone the full truth. Not his parents. Not his friends. Not even the doctors who tested the strange, glowing mark that still shimmered faintly on his chest. It didn't fade. Most people said it was just a burn. Some said it was a childish lie, but Jake knew better. That alien girl, Lyra. He had never learned her name, but he remembered her eyes. The way she whispered, "Return." It wasn't a goodbye. It was a promise. One night, while working alone, in his small engineering garage near Earth's Edge Station, Jake's wrist device beeped. A new message. No sender. No subject. Just one thing. She waited. Jake sat up straight. His heart skipped. "Who is this?" he typed back. No reply. But suddenly his device flickered and a strange star map appeared. It showed a red planet. Then a green symbol pulsed. He didn't know how, but he recognized it. It was the symbol he had seen carved on a tree the day he freed her. He zoomed in. Coordinates. The planet was now restricted, under full galactic seal. No one in or out. Labeled Xylaria, contaminated, zone. Jake stared at the screen, his breath caught. "She's there." He rushed to his wall, pulling out an old metal box. Inside were scraps, his jungle map from years ago, dried leaves from the alien trees, and the crumpled sketch of the energy cage. He had kept everything. His eyes stopped at one drawing, the symbol from her hand, and then it happened again. Beso, symbol on the paper glowed. Soft, pale blue. His skin burned under his shirt. He pulled it off, and the glowing mark on his chest pulsed in the exact same rhythm. It was calling him. That night, he made his decision. By morning, Jake had packed supplies, hacked into a forgotten cargo shuttle system, and left Earth's orbit. His ship was old, stolen, and barely holding together. But he didn't care. This wasn't a mission. It was fate. As he neared the edge of the restricted zone, warnings flashed across the screen. "You are entering a sealed system. Turn back, immediately. Violators will be erased from galactic records." Jake turned the messages off. The stars outside turned dark, and the jungle world came into view. Even from orbit, Xylaria looked angry. The forests had grown wild, covering old landing sites. Satellites showed storms raging over the surface. The same place where he had once saved a scared alien girl now looked like a haunted grave. Jake touched the burn on his chest. It pulsed faster. He whispered, "I'm coming." He landed the shuttle rough. Smoke filled the air. The trees had grown taller, darker, twisted. Strange vines reached out like claws. But Jake knew where to go. He followed the map burned in his memory. As he walked deeper, the jungle felt alive. Not like before. Every step the trees seemed to whisper. The wind carried a sound that wasn't wind. It was like a voice. His name. Faint, soft, but real. Jake. He spun around. No one. But it was her voice. Then he saw it. On the tree trunk ahead, the same symbol from his chest, burned into the bark. Below it, scratched in alien script. I waited. Jake's breath hitched. He touched the symbol. The tree pulsed under his palm, and far in the jungle, a soft blue light flickered through. The leaves, just like the cage from years ago. He ran toward it, heart racing, but when he reached the clearing, it wasn't a cage this time. It was a mask. A silver alien mask hanging from a vine with a soft glowing eye in the center, and next to it a piece of fabric, deep purple, torn but elegant. Her scent still clung to it. Jake knew. She was alive. But why was she still hiding? And why now? Jake stood in front of the giant jungle wall. The forest had changed. The last time he was here, he had been a child. The trees were smaller. The air felt warm. Now it was cold, dark. The vines looked like they were alive, moving when he wasn't, looking. His boots sank into wet ground as he took slow steps forward. The mask he had found was still in his backpack. The fabric, too. But they weren't just clues, they were warnings. He didn't care. He had come too far. His chest still glowed faintly through his shirt. That strange blue mark never left him, not since the day he freed her. And now, it was pulsing again, brighter, faster. The planet was calling him, but something else was here too, watching. Jake pushed deeper into the jungle. Trees grew close together. Leaves were big and sharp. Strange lights blinked from inside bushes. Were those eyes? He remembered the way Lyra had disappeared back then. So fast, like part of the jungle. Maybe she still was. A broken statue stood ahead, covered in moss. Half buried in the roots was a symbol, the same one from his skin. He touched it. The ground shook. Suddenly, something fast moved behind him. He spun around, but nothing was there, just trees. But then he saw something else. Scratches on the trees, symbols, arrows, warnings. Someone had been here recently, someone like her. He followed the path. After an hour, Jake entered a hollow, clearing surrounded by jagged black stone. In the center stood a giant pillar, half alien metal, half glowing crystal. At the base were markings. A handprint burned into the surface. He placed his hand on it. The crystal warmed. Then her voice, not out loud, inside his head. "You should not have returned." Jake stepped back. "Lyra," he whispered. No answer, but a figure dropped from a tree behind him. Fast, silent, armed. Jake turned just in time, but a glowing spear was already pointed at his chest. The figure wore alien armor, sleek and dark with glowing veins of blue. The helmet covered her face. She said something in alien language. He raised both hands. "I'm not your enemy." She took a step closer, then her hand moved to her helmet and she removed it. Jake's breath caught. It was her, Lyra, but she was older now, taller. Her silver hair was tied back. A scar ran down her cheek. Her eyes weren't wide with fear like before, they were sharp and sad. "You grew up," she said softly, in near-perfect English. Jake nodded slowly. "You too." She lowered her weapon but didn't relax. "You shouldn't have come," she said. "This place, it's cursed. Because of me. Because of you." Jake frowned. "What do you mean?" Lyra looked away. "When we touched, something ancient woke up. A bond, forbidden by my people. I thought it faded. I hoped it did." Jake stepped forward. "It didn't. I still feel it." "So do I," she whispered. For a moment, neither of them moved. But then the ground rumbled. Louder, this time. From deep in the jungle, a loud screech echoed. Not animal. Not machine. Something in between. Jake looked at Lyra. "What is that?" She turned to him, eyes full of dread. "It's what comes for us. Whenever we meet." She grabbed his arm. "No time. If you really want answers, you have to see the ruins, the place where the first bond began. But if we go there, we might not return." Jake held her gaze. "I didn't come to run away this time." Lyra blinked once, then gave a small nod. "Then follow me." They ran through the jungle together. Jake tried to keep up, but Lyra moved like wind, fast, silent, almost part of the shadows. Her bare feet barely touched the ground. Her long silver hair flowed behind her like a trail of light. Jake had 1,000 questions, but no time to ask. Behind them, the jungle roared. Trees snapped, ground trembled. Something massive was chasing them. It wasn't just any beast. It was ancient, built from metal and bone, with red eyes that never blinked. Lyra had only spoken of it once in a whisper. It Hunt's soul marked, and Jake was now marked. They burst through a wall of hanging vines into an open valley. High above, broken alien towers stood like the bones of a forgotten city. The sky was a deep blue-green, and strange birds circled the air. Lyra stopped at a shattered doorway and turned. "In here," she said. Jake followed her inside. It was a ruined temple, dark and echoing. Stone carvings lined the walls, showing human-like figures touching alien hands. Each carving ended the same way, a blinding sacroi and the awakening of a beast. Jake stared at them. This is us." Lyra nodded. "I was trained here," she said softly. "After you left, my people said I had been touched by something forbidden, a human." Jake turned to her. "But you saved me, and I saved you. They don't see it that way. She walked to a stone pedestal. On it rested a metal gauntlet covered in glowing lines. They trained me to kill, she said. To forget. To erase the bond. Jake stepped closer. Did it work? She looked up at him slowly. No. The silence between them was heavy. Jake finally spoke. Why did you leave that message? Why ask me to return if it was so dangerous? Lyra's eyes softened. Because I remembered you. I remembered your fear, your courage. You were just a boy, but you chose to help me when no one else would. I thought, if you survived, maybe you were meant to. She reached out and touched the glowing mark on his chest. It pulsed under her hand. Their bond still lived. I'm not that boy anymore, Jake said. I can see that. Then, her voice became serious again. But if we stay together now, the planet itself will awaken. Jake frowned. What does that mean? Lyra stepped back and pressed a switch on the pedestal. The wall behind them shifted, and a glowing doorway appeared. Come, she said. See what your touch left behind. They walked through the doorway into a hidden chamber. In the center was a floating crystal, alive with swirling energy. Around it, plants grew in perfect rings. Strange lights danced on the floor. On the far wall was a large carving. It showed Jake and Lyra, their hands touching, the bond between them glowing. It looked exactly like that day in the cage. Jake froze. This was carved after I left? Lyra nodded. The planet sees. It remembers. That moment marked not just us, but everything here. Jake stepped closer to the crystal. It's beautiful, he whispered. It's dangerous, she replied. Suddenly the crystal pulsed and Jake fell to his knees. Visions flooded his mind. Lyra's memories, her loneliness, her fear, her anger, and something more, her longing. Jake gasped as the vision ended. Lyra helped him stand. This is what we're tied to now, she said. If we don't control it, it will destroy us both. Jake stared into her eyes. Then let's face it together. Lyra hesitated, then gave him the smallest, rarest gift. A smile. But before they could speak more, the walls shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. The beast had found them. Lyra grabbed the gauntlet from the pedestal. No more running, she said. Jake clenched his fists. No more hiding. Outside, the beast roared, louder than thunder. Inside the ruins, a human and an alien girl stood side by side, and this time they would fight. The sky turned dark, not from clouds, but from the massive shadow of the creature circling the ancient ruins. The ground trembled. The trees bowed. The very air felt heavy. Jake stood beside Lyra, breathing fast. His hands were shaking, but not from fear, from something inside him. A strange warmth was growing in his chest. A glow, Lyra noticed. It's starting again, she whispered. The bond, it's waking fully. Jake looked down at his chest. The mark was no longer faint. It was shining brightly, like a second, heart beating. What does it mean? He asked. Lyra didn't answer right away. She walked to the glowing crystal in the chamber and placed her hand over it. Visions appeared in the air, floating like fog. Jake saw flashes. Two ancient beings, one human-like and one alien, standing just like him and Lyra. Then a wave of energy. Cities destroyed, planets cracked, stars dimmed. Jake stepped back. What was that? Lyra's voice was low. The first bond. She turned to face him. Long ago, a human and an alien like me shared the same connection we have now. But their bond became too strong. Their feelings turned into energy the galaxy couldn't handle. The power between them exploded, and it broke everything. Jake was speechless. Our kind made a rule after that, she said. Never bond with humans. Never allow the light to grow. Because love between our kinds is too dangerous. Jake swallowed hard. Then why am I still alive? Why are you? She walked closer. Because maybe we're different. Suddenly Jake stumbled, his head spinning, more visions. But this time, they were his own. He saw Lyra trapped again, in a cage, but this time she wasn't a child. She was being pulled away, crying for him. Then he saw himself, older, burning with blue fire, holding her hand as the stars collapsed behind them. Then darkness. Jake gasped and dropped to his knees. Lyra ran to him. "Jake, you weren't supposed to feel that yet." He clutched her arm. "What was that?" She took a deep breath. "The bond doesn't just connect our minds. It shows us possible futures. It reacts to what we feel. If our emotions get too strong, love, anger, pain, it begins to change the world around us." Jake looked at her with wide eyes. "So if we fall in love," she nodded slowly, "it could destroy everything." Outside, the beast roared again, closer, now. But inside the chamber, another sound began. The crystal in the center started to crack. Glowing lines spread across it like spiderwebs. It had absorbed too much of their bond. Lyra grabbed Jake's face. "We have to leave, now. If the crystal breaks, it could unleash what the galaxy tried to seal away." Jake shook his head. "I'm not leaving you again." She looked deep into his eyes. "You don't understand. You're not just a part of this. You're the key." He froze. "What?" She held his hand. "You were chosen, not by chance, but by the planet itself. When you freed me, the world marked you. It wants us to bond, to restart what was lost." Jake looked around at the ancient carvings, at the light, at her. "And if we don't?" Lyra's voice cracked. "Then the galaxy may be safe, but we will never be whole." The walls began to collapse. Lyra turned, blue energy forming around her arms. She faced the door, ready to fight the monster waiting outside. Jake stood beside her. "I may be the key," he said, "but I choose you." She looked at him with wide, shining eyes. "Then let's face it," she said softly, "together." The ground gave way beneath his feet. One moment Jake was standing beside Lyra, the next, he was falling. Not through space, not through air, but through memories. When he landed, there was no pain, just silence. He stood in a strange place. A wide, black floor stretched in all directions. Above him, a sky with no stars, only smoke and glowing cracks of blue light. This wasn't real. It was inside him. In the center stood a giant gate made of silver fire. It pulsed like a heartbeat. And beside it, a tall statue, Lyra, her hand raised toward him. Her eyes looked alive, watching him. Jake stepped forward, but the floor cracked. From beneath, his own voice echoed. "You left her. You ran. You forgot her." "No," Jake whispered. "I didn't." Suddenly, his 13-year-old self appeared, standing before him, scared, dirty, holding a glowing cage button in his hand. Jake reached for him, but the boy backed away. "Why didn't you come sooner?" She waited. Jake's hands trembled. "I tried. I didn't know how." The younger Jake faded into smoke. From the darkness came another voice, Lyra's scream. Jake turned. He saw a scene from his past. Lyra inside a new cage, older now, fighting as alien chains wrapped around her arms. She screamed for help, but Jake couldn't move, his legs wouldn't work. He cried out, "I'm here, I'm trying." A wall of fire rose between them. Out of the flame stepped another figure. It looked like Jake, but twisted, older, colder. "You will fail her again," it said. "You are weak." Jake clenched his fists. "I'm not. You are full of fear, guilt, doubt." "I still came back," Jake shouted, "even when the galaxy told me not to." The twisted version of him stepped closer. "Then prove it. Step through the fire. Face your truth." Jake looked at the wall of flame. It wasn't just heat. It was pain, regret, everything he had hidden in his heart. He took a deep breath and walked forward. As he entered the fire, he saw visions. His parents arguing when he returned from the trip, calling him a liar. His lonely nights sketching Lyra's face again and again, the burn on his chest glowing under his shirt, a mark he never showed anyone. And then, a final vision. Lyra, older, sitting on a dark tree root, crying silently, staring at the stars. Waiting. Jake dropped to his knees in the fire, tears streamed down his face. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I should have come sooner, I was afraid." The fire stopped, and the darkness shattered like glass. He woke up gasping. He was back in the ancient chamber, lying on the floor. Lyra was holding him, tears in her eyes. "You were inside the trial," she said. "You faced it." Jake sat up slowly. "I saw everything, even you, waiting." She nodded. "You passed. The bond is real. And now," a glowing symbol appeared above them, spinning in the air. "It's complete." But then, a deep voice echoed across the ruins. "Then the final guardian will come." The walls began to crack. The ground split. A huge shape rose from below the earth, taller than trees, made of stone and fire. The true beast, the one from the first bond, the one that destroyed worlds. Lyra grabbed Jake's hand. "If we survive this," she said, "then nothing can break us." Jake stood up beside her, his body still glowing from the trial. "Then, let's finish what started all those years ago." The ancient guardian roared. It was made of black stone, glowing cracks across its chest and arms. Its face had no eyes, only burning light. It stood taller than the ruins. When it moved, the ground broke, trees fell. The sky turned red. Jake stood still, but his hands were glowing bright blue. Lyra was beside him, calm, her silver hair blowing in the hot wind. "This is it," she said softly. "The final test. If we fail, the bond dies. If we succeed, we change everything." Jake finished. The guardian raised its arm, ready to crush them. Jake grabbed Lyra's hand. A shockwave exploded from their touch. Pure energy. The mark on his chest burned, but he didn't pull back. Lyra didn't flinch either. Their bond had reached its final form. They weren't just connected. They were fused, mind to mind, heart to heart. The guardian struck, but its hand stopped inches above them, frozen in midair. Blue vines of light wrapped around the giant's arm. The same vines flowed from Jake and Lyra's hands, spreading into the sky, the earth, the ruins. The guardian trembled. Then, it kneeled. Jake gasped. "What's happening?" Lyra's eyes filled with wonder. "It's accepting the bond." The beast lowered its head, placing a burning hand over its own chest. The glow faded. Its stone body turned to dust, rising into the air like soft ash. Silence returned. But the world was no longer the same. The jungle brightened. Dark vines melted. The trees stood tall again. The sky turned soft gold. From the cracked temple walls, alien writing appeared, lines of prophecy glowing across the stones. Jake read the only part in human script. "When the forbidden bond survives, peace will begin." They walked back to the center of the temple, where the cracked crystal floated once more, now whole. Lyra turned to Jake. "Do you know what this means?" Jake smiled. "Yeah. We're not a danger. We're a cure." Lyra laughed, tears in her eyes. "They'll never believe us." Jake stepped closer. "Then let's show them." He reached out and touched the crystal. Lyra placed her hand beside his. Together, they triggered the final pulse. A beam of light shot into the sky, visible across the galaxy. From space, satellites recorded it. On Earth and alien worlds, people looked up in wonder. Scientists, soldiers, elders, everyone saw it. The signal of something ancient, powerful, and pure. The bond had returned. Later, standing at the edge of the glowing jungle, Lyra looked at Jake. "So, what now?" Jake chuckled. "Now, we go home." She raised an eyebrow. "Which home?" Jake looked into her eyes. Wherever you are, that's home. Lyra didn't reply. She just leaned forward and touched her forehead to his. And the jungle around them sang.